This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. ICE has now confirmed that San Antonio will be home to a new migrant detention center. The property is located off Southeast Loop 410. We're learning the federal government bought the property for more than $60 million from a company in Atlanta. Zach Briggs spoke with Eastside residents who oppose the project.
With this massive property officially in federal hands, Eastside residents are frustrated and they're wondering what the impacts could be on their community.
I don't believe that to be an accident.
Things that could help make our community a safe place to live. That's what we're looking for.
And now we're taking...
And an ICE facility to house migrants isn't what these residents had in mind. This woman, who didn't want to be named, lives nearby and worries how a migrant detention center may directly or indirectly affect the well-being of her neighbors.
There are elementary schools, high school, middle school. There's the senior citizen homes right across this expressway. Definitely don't want ICE people coming out in our neighborhoods misunderstanding who we are. They might have accents, but they might still be American citizens.
Chuck Slaughter isn't comfortable either.
The type of people that's going to be put in this facility, some of the world's most dangerous criminals, the MS-13, the people like that.
At the same time, he's aware of ICE raids nationwide, where in some cases migrants have been unjustly detained, stripped of their due process rights.
There's a better way to do it than being so brutal about it. Because when I grew up in America, America to me was known as a humanitarian type country.
An ICE spokesman tells KENS 5 this building will meet regular detention standards and falls in line with efforts to expand detention space across the country.
I don't see anything that is going to benefit the people around here.
We've learned Oakmont Industrial Group out of Atlanta sold this vacant property to the federal government for $66 million. Glenn Brooks is baffled.
It's all about the money in the pocket, but think about the people. That's number one.
And at this time, it's unknown when this property will be turned into an operational ICE detention center. I'm Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
Police arrested 2 teens after spotting a stolen SUV at North Star Mall on Wednesday. One other suspect is on the run. As Earl Stoudemire reports, SAPD says North Star Mall has been a hotspot for burglaries.
SAPD says 2 officers were patrolling the parking lots at North Star Mall when they spotted a stolen SUV. When the officers noticed the SUV, they blocked the driver in the parking lot. During the investigation, they say they also found a weapon in the car. They arrested the driver, 17-year-old Jesus Rodriguez, and his passenger, 18-year-old Joshua Zane Williams. Rodriguez is facing multiple charges, including unauthorized use of a vehicle. Williams is charged with evading. Police said there's a 3rd juvenile suspect who is still on the run. This is still an active investigation. If you know anything, call SAPD. Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
San Antonio City Council members voted to halt the proposed Guajolote Ranch subdivision. Opponents warned the development could have sent more than 1 million gallons of treated wastewater a day into Helotes Creek, threatening the aquifer. Simone Simpson has the latest.
We're thrilled. We're thrilled with the decision of San Antonio City Council, and we're really excited about how much time City Council and the city manager put into understanding the issue well enough to make an informed decision today.
The development would have spanned more than 1,100 acres with 3,000 homes, along with a wastewater treatment plant that opponents said could have threatened the Edwards Aquifer, a major drinking water source for the region.
Lennar Homes is installing a wastewater treatment plant on this property at Scenic Loop and Babcock, and they'll be dumping 1 million gallons a day into the Helotes Creek, which goes straight into the aquifer. And so essentially they're dumping their treated wastewater into our drinking water supply.
The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality granted developer Lennar Homes a wastewater permit following a hearing in October.
We took them to court and we lost, and we've appealed that. So we're under appeal right now.
Supporters argued the project would have prompted much-needed housing growth, while critics argued it would increase pollution in nearby waterways. Council's vote Thursday focused on whether to create a new municipal utility district. That was denied unanimously.
Lennar is still progressing on this development. They're still moving ahead on installing this wastewater treatment plant that they got a permit for. And so we're still fighting it.
Simone Simpson, KENS 5.
The future of Judson ISD superintendent is now up in the air as the school board voted Wednesday night to propose the termination of Dr. Milton Fields. Rania Kaur explains what's next in the process.
A proposed termination means the Judson ISD School Board has made its decision, but Dr. Milton Fields could appeal it to the Commissioner of Education.
In a 4-3 vote, the Judson ISD School Board recommended firing Superintendent Milton Fields before 11 p.m. last night. The board president said a recent investigation into Fields looked into complaints that were filed by more than 24 teachers. A 40-minute closed session did provide some insight to board members about the investigation, but at least one member is frustrated by this whole process.
The discussion in closed session did elaborate on some additional things, but really at the core, the reason this investigation started, I think, under false pretenses. There was incomplete information provided to 3 board members. It started inappropriately.
Fields was placed on leave in January. In the interim, the board decided to appoint the current Deputy Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Mary Duhart-Toppin, as the acting superintendent.
At this point, we don't know if Dr. Fields is planning to appeal the decision. There are also concerns of an open meeting violation that could reset this entire process. Stay with us on KENS 5 and KENS5.com for the very latest. Rania Kaur, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from Houston. I'm Ron Trevino. We have new details in the alleged kidnapping and sexual assault of a child in Galveston. The police chief calls the suspect a monster, revealing the man has ties to crimes in at least 4 other states. Jason Miles has the latest.
Oh, got one arrested. Look at this.
Nearly a week after police arrested 27-year-old suspect Graham Dunn at a Galveston Island hotel where he was allegedly caught with a 12-year-old girl, police and others spoke about who they consider to be a serial sexual predator.
Been a prosecutor for 37 years, and this is one of the most disgusting situations I've heard of.
Dunn is accused of using a ruse on social media to lure the 12-year-old before forcibly kidnapping her last Friday evening as she walked her dog in the area of 11 Mile Road. That's about 5 miles from the hotel, where officers were later led thanks to the girl's cell phone pinging in the vicinity.
The dog had returned home, but she had not.
Galveston Police SWAT and K-9 officer Joshua Nino, who was dressed for court today, is credited with being ultra persistent in getting hotel surveillance that confirmed Dunn and the girl were at this particular hotel where desk clerks didn't know how to access the cameras.
I didn't really give them an option to, we don't have access to the cameras. I said, we need to call someone right now. We need to wake them up. We need to get someone down here because we're watching the cameras. Very respectfully, I'm not giving you an option.
Within a few minutes, Nino and others kicked in the door to Dunn's room, arresting him and rescuing the girl, who'd allegedly been given some sort of pills and sexually assaulted. Dunn's even accused of recording the alleged acts on his phone. Turns out he was already wanted out of Dallas County for probation violations and has ties to alleged crimes in at least 4 other states.
In the press conference today, they said without your persistence, this arrest and or saving this girl would not have happened as immediately. What do you think about that?
It's humbling, but in the 10 years of law enforcement that I do have, there's certain things that you'll remember. This is one of those I'll remember for the rest of my career.
Again, that was Jason Miles reporting. Elsewhere in the news now, a teacher is now charged after allegedly fighting a student. According to court documents, the teacher attacked the student several times, even putting her in a chokehold so that another student could hit her. Aniel Ruiz has that story.
Tonight, 43-year-old Jacinta Green facing injury to a child charge. This is video of the Carver High School teacher appearing in probable cause court after being accused of fighting a 14-year-old girl. The victim's mother tells me she's frustrated it's taking them this long for an arrest.
On January the 14th, my daughter was assaulted by an English teacher.
Tashawn Bates says it started with a disagreement between her daughter and Green's daughter. Court documents state Green waited for the 14-year-old victim outside the restroom.
Baited her into the cafeteria where her daughter was already seated for lunch.
That's when court records say the teacher then placed Bates' daughter in a headlock and a fight broke out.
Her daughter jumps into this fight, and at this moment, they're both jumping my daughter.
Video captured by bystanders was shared with us. You can see the commotion. It was sent to us without sound, and we blurred the video to protect the teens involved. They were all separated, and court documents state Green attacked the teen again as the teen was trying to walk away.
Only this time, the teacher picked up a chair and swung it at my daughter.
And court documents state the teacher came at the student one more time.
Charged at her again, causing her to fall backwards onto the table where her back was injured.
Documents state Green and her daughter left the school without providing a statement. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later that the DA was contacted and accepted charges. Green was just arrested and she appeared before a magistrate judge.
Jacinta Green.
In a statement, the district telling us she was put on administrative leave and they've notified local law enforcement. They go on to say Alden ISD maintains a zero tolerance policy regarding any adult conduct that compromises student safety. But the girl's mother says she still has many unanswered questions.
She was not protected, like she really was not protected. Here I am having to be the voice for her. So this would not happen to another child.
Again, that was Ana Yeli Ruiz reporting. Governor Greg Abbott says student protests during school hours have to stop. He's given directives to the Texas Education Agency calling for penalties for students who take part and any school staff that helps them. Katira Winfrey spoke with the governor during a stop in town this week.
Growing concerns around ICE activity are driving student-led walkout protests statewide. From Conroe to Missouri City, students are joining together, and Governor Greg Abbott says that's enough of that.
No more protests during school. It's time to return to what their core responsibility is, and that's to educate our kids.
The protests have ranged in size, some happening on school grounds, others moving off campus. The governor is now issuing new directives to the Texas Education Agency on how to handle absences and walkouts, urging penalties for students and staff.
Each person has to make their decision and also weigh out their what their consequences are going to be.
The advocacy group FIEL says student participation should be applauded.
You need to cause trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. And I think this is necessary trouble because the government is really troubling a lot of these young folks.
The TEA is now cracking down on districts. Those in violation could face a loss of funding since districts are paid based on student attendance and students will be marked absent.
If kids are skipping class, going out protesting, those schools are not going to be paid for that day.
The state, Governor Abbott says, will set the parameters to determine what is necessary in identifying and investigating staff who help violate standards in supporting walkouts.
Calladito te ves más bonito, which translates to if you're quiet, you look prettier. And there hasn't been a phrase that has been more detrimental to the Latino community.
The governor is applauding districts and the state, saying his directives, it appears, are already being put in action.
The reality, the law of free speech is more complex than that. You don't have freedom of speech to say and act any way you want to, anywhere you want to, anytime you want to.
Katira Winfrey reporting there. We're taking a closer look at the dangerous threat that dangerous buildings pose to Houston. Our team got a hold of a list of thousands of cases across town. And even though the city just approved $30 million to tear down certain buildings, Troy Kless shows us why it's not going to be an easy fix.
This home at the corner of Ashlock and Richmond is one of thousands in the city that could be considered for demolition. Up close, you can see that the windows are boarded up after a fire occurred at the property. In Ashton Village, the HOA says they've been sounding the alarm.
And particularly this house has been eyesore for a long time. I know it's been more than 6 years that the accident has happened.
But it was not the fire damage that got the city's attention back in 2022. It was the pool in the backyard.
They put locks in the back and people, I guess, break the in and they still open up and anybody could actually fall.
After years of issuing citations, the city learned why the property owner wasn't acting.
Today, there was a scheduled hearing to talk about next steps, and it has been deferred for 6 months because the heir of this property is underage.
This is one of the hurdles a dangerous building can face before the city tears it down. KHOU obtained a list showing the dangerous properties across the city, including in Tiffany Thomas's district. That list has not been made public yet, but there are thousands of properties in various stages.
I think there's still some protocols that the Houston Public Works is working out in terms of prioritizing the list that they shared with us a couple of weeks ago.
The mayor's office telling KHOU 11 in a statement, in the coming days, we will publicly identify the locations and outline how $30 million in stormwater funds will be used to demolish abandoned buildings that create drainage problems across the city. Though it's possible this home in Ashton Village may not qualify, residents still think it's a problem that must be addressed.
It used to be a beautiful neighborhood, and now it's not really that safe, especially this is one of the several houses that we have in the neighborhood that are like this.
That was Troy Kless reporting, and that is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Ron Trevino.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
We got a big time warm up heading into the weekend as high pressure is going to start taking control over the Lone Star State of Texas. I'm meteorologist Andy Mead. We are finally going to have a weekend where conditions are going to be relatively back to somewhat near normal. We're going to be above normal in terms of temperatures, but not going to be expecting any winter impacts as we have seen, at least when it comes to temperatures and even snow from the past several weekends. With this today, I think we're going to see more widespread 70s. We're going to notice more of those changes, at least for our Friday, with a bit more in the way of some sunshine, especially as we start heading more into Saturday. I think especially for portions of West Texas, we'll begin to see more increasing clouds, and I think mostly elsewhere. We're talking along in the I-35 corridor, the more east that you go, that's when I think we'll start to see more of the clouds overall overspreading the region onto Sunday. Elsewhere, I'm thinking along I-35 into portions of Dallas, even pushing into near areas of Austin, San Antonio. I think we'll have some good old sunny skies as we go throughout the remainder of today, even into tomorrow. But we are tracking, at least with the increasing clouds, some of that moisture is going to try to get put to good use with an opportunity of a few showers. So out the door for Friday morning, we'll see a mix of some low to middle 30s over into portions of West Texas. We're going to see a bit more in the way of those middle to near upper 50s along the I-35 corridor. Further south, we'll see more of the same along into the coastlines, more of those 40s. We'll at least see more of those warmer overnight lows. That'll be the same song and tune. When it comes to those daytime highs, I think we could already start to see some middle to upper 70s and even some 80s as we head up into near North Texas, along into near the Red River, especially along into portions of West Central Texas, along into South Texas in the Valley. Will be around 79 in Corpus Christi and San Antonio. We'll have a light breeze though coming in from the south-southwest. That will certainly help it. And as we start heading into the weekend, we're going to start seeing more of these above normal temperatures take over throughout much of the nation, where we still have some influence of some very cold temperatures up into near New England. But for the meantime, at least for us, we look like we're going to be into a relatively warmer pattern, especially over into the weekend. For West Texas, we're going to start seeing some of those increasing clouds as we head into Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures, I think on Saturday will be the warmest for y'all. More the same along into Central Texas. It's going to be very warm as we head into Saturday, around 80 into Fredericksburg, 79 onto Saturday into Austin, with a slightly cooler temperature of 78 with some increasing clouds along into portions of South Texas as well, upper 70s and lower to middle 80s the further south that you go, especially towards portions of Laredo. That's when I think we'll be able to see a bit more of those middle to near upper 80s, getting a little too close to 90, well above normal in terms of temperatures along in portions of North Texas. We'll have have some middle to upper 70s on Friday. Some slightly cooler conditions on Saturday. That's going to be due to a bit of a weak cool front that's going to try to sneak into the vicinity of the region, but not going to make the whole passage throughout the whole Lone Star State, especially the further south that you go. You'll be able to escape some at least more of those kind of slightly cooler temperatures, especially along into portions of the valley. We're talking a bit more of those low to middle 80s, even some 90s are going to be possible. High pressure is the name of the game, though. It's really going to keep dominating with this kind of clockwise motion, creating a lot more of that sinking motion, but we'll be able to see this break down a little bit. As we head into the early portions of next week, we're going to see some clouds beginning to increase with some overspreading moisture over the Lone Star State. With this, I think as the system approaches, that's when we'll be able to get more of the lift for that opportunity of maybe a few showers and thunderstorms. Here's it approaching. It's taking you around Monday, 7 p.m. We'll start to see more of those showers and even maybe in a few rumbles of thunder. But for the most part, I think this is expected to stay fairly light as it moves west to east, kind of alongside a bit of a weak cool front that's going to be associated with it. But when it comes to at least the better opportunity of rain, still pretty much east of the I-35 corridor, heading into around late Tuesday as the system will keep on moving more eastward. When it comes to rain totals, it is expected to stay fairly light, between about a trace to a 1/10 of an inch over portions of West Texas. I think we could see more upwards of a 1/4 of an inch along into the I-35 corridor pushing east. But overall, it's going to be a very isolated to kind of scattered rain chance, not going to be a whole lot. As we start heading throughout the next 7 days, we're going to see a little bit more of that sunshine as we continue throughout much of Friday, working in through Saturday as well. We'll start seeing some slowly increasing clouds along into portions of West and North Texas. We're going to at least see with that warmer temperatures are going to be persistent with middle to near upper 70s and even some lower 80s as we head into around Sunday as well. That's when more of those clouds will begin to slowly overspread the region as we head into early next week, with a few opportunities of some showers. Is going to be staying fairly light and kind of isolated to kind of widely scattered as we head into around Monday, expanding at least more in coverage more as we head into Tuesday along into portions of East Texas as well. Temperatures will take a small hit because of this, with a more low to middle 70s as we head into the early portions of next week, with the weak cool front moving in by the late portions of next week.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Izaguirre in Dallas, and here are your headlines from North Texas. Stunning surveillance video shows thieves take a sledgehammer to a safe at a restaurant in the Oak Lawn area of Dallas. And since that burglary, another business told us they were hit by the same thieves on the same night. Kevin Reese walks us through footage from security cameras at both scenes.
It's just after 2 a.m. on Tuesday, and two suspects get out of a van reported stolen from a DeSoto chiropractor. They pry open the side door of the Tacos Juancho restaurant in Oak Lawn, and captured on an infrared camera, break through the office door and begin smashing a safe bolted to the ground. By the time a burglar alarm sounds 30 seconds later, they've already pocketed close to $3,000.
Employees' checks, cash.
Restaurant manager Oliver Valdez showed us the damage the robbers left behind.
It's a lot of hard work here, so people just come and take advantage for that. It's not fair. It's not fair.
But the robbery here on Tuesday wasn't the only one that night. When they posted their video, their surveillance video on Instagram, they heard from another restaurant in Dallas who say it looks like the exact same suspects hit their restaurant too. That same morning in East Dallas, this video outside Tomatero's seafood restaurant on South Buckner. Suspects in the same clothing carrying a pry bar broke through the front door and stole an empty cash register.
It's the same guys, same tools, everything.
And for Tacos Juancho in Oak Lawn, this was their second robbery in just the first 5 months of being open. This surveillance video from September, a single suspect breaking and grabbing a cash register first, but then carrying away a small office safe that was not bolted to the floor. Tacos Juancho is already dealing with weeks of road construction they say is impacting business, but the up-and-coming restaurant is getting support from its loyal customers.
But what I'm saying, God is on our side.
And they hope police investigations and the reach of this surveillance video will prove to be on their side too. In Oak Lawn, I'm Kevin Reese.
Residents at an apartment complex in Plano say they've gone weeks without hot water. That includes the entire time kids were out of school during the winter storm. Richard Solomon spoke to those neighbors and pressed the landlord for answers.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here 6 years.
Every apartment comes with the basics. For Mark Cox, that's peace of mind.
The way the trees are sitting, I get the sunshine right in the morning.
Cox lives at the Bellevue at Spring Creek Apartments in Plano. He says for the last few weeks, though, an issue has left him boiling over.
Hot water sanitizes.
Head to the sink and you'll quickly find out why.
And we don't have that.
Cox says he and other residents haven't had hot water for more than 2 weeks now, turning everyday routines like bathing and laundry into a challenge.
That's about as hot as it gets right there.
It's a problem the apartment complex says started right before the snowstorm.
It's annoying. You know, we can't live like this.
A spokesperson with the property management company Valcap Group LLC told me the old boilers are the root of the problem. They say both boilers are being replaced and they're working with the city of Plano as repairs are expected to start this week. Good news for Cox.
Yeah, being the city's gotten involved in it and you're here, I think it's great.
But he just hopes in the coming days, the next time he turns on a faucet, relief will be flowing. In Plano, I'm Richard Solomon.
These next few weeks will be pivotal for Dallas City Hall. Council members could see a new report that will decide whether the iconic building is worth saving or if it's time to move out and move on. Teresa Woodard spoke with preservationists trying to save it.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining Preservation Dallas for this tour of City Hall.
A sold-out tour of what some call a worn-out building, a claim others say is without merit.
As the sun sets, one of my favorite views of this building is how our City Hall is lit up at night.
Preservation Dallas organized this sunset event for people to capture the history.
And what is brutalism, really?
And find the beauty of Dallas City Hall.
So being able to have this building designed by I.M. Pei is very important, not just because it's a geometric design, because this was also his first civic building.
City staff said it needs hundreds of millions of dollars in repairs because of maintenance put off for years. Some council members have already declared it makes financial sense to move out and let developers, maybe the Dallas Mavericks, take over the land. Not this council member.
I am very optimistic, guardedly optimistic, that the numbers will come back showing that not $500 million, but well under $100 million will be quite sufficient to restore City Hall to its original condition.
A report due in less than 3 weeks should offer clarity on costs. So get ready. The City Hall debate is about to significantly heat up between those who say its best days are in the past and those who believe there's a future ahead. In Dallas, I'm Teresa Woodard.
You might see a big herd of goats if you head out to White Rock Lake in Dallas. 260 goats will be there for the next week, helping get rid of an invasive plant in that area. They'll be in an area near the bathhouse. An electric fence and 24-hour supervision will keep those babies in place. A story that started on a quiet afternoon had an ending no one saw coming. As Adriana De Alba reports from Fort Worth, it left staff members stunned and thousands of people holding their breath online.
Inside Monkey and Dog Books, decorated shelves hold stories.
It's like you can alphabetize.
But the Fort Worth bookstore now holds a story of its own
It's just so exciting for the shop.
that this staff will never
We've
forget.
had some people propose in the shop. We've had people have birthday parties in the shop, and then this was the first.
1 second, a North Texas mom was book browsing. The next, she went into labor.
It says, "I am so sorry, my water broke."
The parents rushed out, leaving behind no name.
I was very optimistic.
Just curiosity for owner Seth Burt.
That was the mission, was to try to figure out who the mysterious book baby was.
So he posted this video on the bookstore's Instagram.
If you know them.
Comments and shares poured in. A community invested.
That's what the post, I think, tried to do, is just bring people together.
The internet did its thing. Found the book baby.
Hello.
Hi, sir.
Are you Morgan?
Hi. 2 weeks later, that mom, Morgan Trajasic, is back.
And I got to meet baby Leo.
This time with her newborn son, Leo.
Did you expect to go into labor in a bookstore?
No, I did not expect to go into labor in a bookstore.
What went through your mind?
Honestly, I was just excited.
Her fourth child, and this time it all happened so fast.
Morgan and her husband rushed out of the bookstore and went straight to the birthing center, and little Leo was born 25 minutes later.
And so it's the way it was supposed to be.
Leo's story already beginning with the ultimate plot twist.
It fills me with a lot of hope. He's
So
very
dearly.
much loved.
The owners even gifted Leo discounted books for life, the so-called bookstore baby, proof that the best stories are the ones you never see coming.
That's so cute.
In Fort Worth, I'm Adriana De Alba.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
I'm Lindsay Littman. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. A soldier at his lowest, saved by his fellow soldiers. One man stationed at Fort Hood took to social media to find the men and women he says saved his life.
All right, so on June 14th, 2024, I had a near heart attack.
Captain Tony Smith was on a run in the summer of 2024.
Personally, physically, like mentally, it felt like my worst day.
He felt off.
Decided to go to Darnell, so I drove off of Legends and essentially like blacked out.
He pulled over and broke down.
So I'd gotten out of my car and I think went manic, essentially. I kind of lost it.
That's when soldiers stepped in.
MPs in the EMS showed up.
They rushed him to the ER for what they thought was a mental health emergency.
Kidney and liver enzymes were elevated. They found the blood clot in my left leg.
A scare.
My next day could have been my last day. That shoots up to your heart, your lungs, in your brain. You're dead.
Now his time in the Army is almost over.
I couldn't leave here or get out the Army without at least acknowledging, tell them that I appreciate them as well. Hope that I can find these soldiers and recognize them and shake their hand.
The response was overwhelming.
A lot of the MPs reached out to me. I had personnel from Colleen, mom's pages, the spouses' pages were reaching out.
He found them the very next day.
It's just cool just to thank them and be hey, thank you so much for essentially you saved me.
Good soldiers.
If I would have been off base, that would have been a worse story.
Good humans.
Didn't see the rank, just saw me as human.
And good news out of Fort Hood.
So it's kind of amazing how, when you do it the right way, social media can, find what you need when you need it.
Smith says when you put on that Army uniform, it doesn't matter who you are, you're all in the same team. Well, if you've noticed your grocery bill climbing lately, you're not alone. Beef prices are at record highs, and experts say they'll likely stay that way through the end of the year. Our Juliana Jackson spoke with livestock experts about what you can expect.
So we're in a cycle here where we have the lowest numbers that we've ever dealt with in the history of the industry.
The U.S. cattle herd is at a 75-year low. Inventory reports say cow-calf numbers are down, and the number of calves expected to sell this year is also down. That's pushing retail beef prices to between $9 and $9.50 per pound, with some cuts even higher.
People that are, selling pretty much everything that they have right now as far as calves that are ready.
Farm-level cattle prices jumped nearly 24%, and wholesale beef prices rose more than 15%. Kenny Mingus with the Milam County Livestock says those increases are trickling down to your grocery store bill.
It takes a lot of equity to operate today, especially at the prices and the levels that these calves are selling.
Producers are trying to make up for lower cattle numbers by raising bigger animals.
Picking up some of those pounds that we're losing by our total head count.
Tracy Tomasic with Texas Farm Bureau says consumers should expect lower supplies, but beef won't disappear from shelves.
It's going to be a lower supply of it compared to recent history when we had extremely high supplies of beef and really much lower prices.
Experts predict farm-level cattle prices will increase another 6% this year, with wholesale beef prices climbing nearly 7%.
So look at your options, work with what's in your budget, because it's bigger than a beef story. This is an all of agriculture issue.
The Texas Farm Bureau recommends you shop around, compare prices between different protein options like beef, pork, and chicken, and work within your budget. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. Thursday marks 2 weeks since a 76-year-old woman in Wood County was last seen. As an intensive search continues, CBS 19's Ayanna Aird spoke to investigators to figure out what we know.
The search continues for 76-year-old Lori Harbison, who's been missing since January 23rd.
She lives out in the county in the Winsboro area, and we had received a call from a neighbor, the caretaker that takes care of her, stating that she was missing.
This is County Road 4560, the last place Lori Harbison was seen. Deputies say this is an all-hands search, and they're using all the tools they have to bring her home.
You know, we had the storm coming in, so it was before the storm. We believe that she was headed to town to get some supplies.
Deputies say their primary concern is that severe winter weather and impassable roadways may have played a role in her disappearance. Investigators fear she could have slid off the road due to the conditions and have yet to be located.
So we have utilized the Sheriff's Office employees to search the area. We have flown drones over the entire area, checking ponds and the wood lines and stuff in a grid pattern area.
But despite those efforts, many questions remain unanswered.
We're actively working the case around the clock. Every deputy is aware that's what's going on. We're trying to push out information best we can.
In rare silver alert cases like this in Wood County, time is critical. Investigators say they're continuing to follow up on every tip while expanding search efforts across the area.
The most important thing that we ask is if anybody has any information leading to where her whereabouts, please let us know.
In Wood County, I'm Ayanna Aird.
An East Texas veteran and his wife thought they were investing in their dream retirement home, but instead they were scammed out of more than $60,000. Now the man they say disrupted their future will spend his time behind bars. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza has the story.
Retired veteran Austin May and his wife had hopes of building their future.
Our entire savings that we had put together for this, that was supposed to be going to a post-military retirement home in the country.
After 22 years in the military, they plan to leave Central Texas for the Piney Woods to chase their American dream.
We got online and put out requests for information on local builders who could build something custom, and Ashley Campbell was one of the people who reached out.
Ashley Campbell with Decked Out Construction and Outdoor Living contacted May on social media.
He was working with us and everything sounded like it was going to fit our budget and it was going to be great, and that's how that got started.
After getting estimates, they cashed in their savings and moved forward. But soon red flags started popping up.
He already had a huge chunk of money and no work had been done, and he was still asking for more.
May says he and his wife paid Campbell over $60,000 from their savings with no work to show for it.
We made our calls to the companies that supposedly were supplying the equipment for the build. They were dumbfounded. They had no idea who we were, had no order numbers, anything like that. So
then they found out they weren't alone. Investigators said Campbell had a history of theft and shady contracts in multiple counties, often settling before cases went to court.
I will tell you that scammers are usually very charming or good speakers, and they are trying to get you to make a decision based on emotion and not necessarily logic.
Michelle Mills is the president and CEO for the Better Business Bureau of East Texas. She encourages others to do thorough research and get multiple quotes from reputable contractors.
Pay a third at the beginning, a third when it's 50% complete, and the last third when the job is done to your satisfaction.
If we do dwell on it, then he does win, and he does set us back, and we're determined not to let him.
Now that their trust in contractors has been broken, May says they've switched to DIY.
We're still here. We still have the house. It's just not going to look like the dream that Ashley Campbell sold us, because that dream never actually existed.
It may not have been the American dream with a white picket fence they imagined, but despite the speed bumps, their vision never wavered. For CBS 19, I'm Robert De La Garza.
And that's a wrap up your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
for insurance you can trust. Help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. The Texas Attorney General is once again taking aim at the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. The AG's office filed a lawsuit against the council and its chapters in Austin, Houston, and DFW, seeking to ban them from operating in the state. The governor designated the group as a foreign terrorist and transnational criminal organization back in November, accusing it of being a front group for Hamas and trying to impose Sharia law. AG Paxton is asking a judge to stop their chapters from operating in Texas. Texas Republicans are vowing to target Islam and stop what they say is the Islamification of Texas. CAIR calls the lawsuit, quote, another frivolous, politically motivated anti-Muslim publicity stunt that wastes more taxpayer dollars. KVU's Daniel Perot takes a closer look at how anti-Muslim rhetoric has become a focus point for Texas Republicans on the campaign trail.
I will stop the invasion and defend our Christian values.
It's blanketing your TV from statewide races.
And Sharia law has no place in American courts or communities.
To the Texas Senate.
And those who follow radical Islam need to be deported from our country.
Republicans vowing to defeat what they call radical Islam. Groups within the faith they say are trying to impose their religious laws on everyone else.
We tracked 7 major ones, another 20 smaller ones.
Samuel Westrop is the director of the Islamist Watch Project at the conservative think tank Middle East Forum. He says politicians need to make a clear distinction between those who peacefully practice their religion and what he calls Islamism, those who interpret Islam in ways that threaten others.
And in doing so, they make a grave mistake because Muslims are our best ally in the fight against extremism.
Texas has more than 300,000 Muslims, the 5th most of any state. Shema Zion with CAIR Austin says anti-Muslim rhetoric this campaign season is at a level they've never seen before.
When we listen to them, we feel like they don't see us as families and communities, how this will harm us.
Zion says it has a dangerous impact on the Muslim community. In November, Governor Greg Abbott designated CAIR as a foreign terrorist organization.
It's dehumanizing. It's affecting our mental health, our families, our level of security and safety. And we don't know how this will continue.
Republicans like Congressman Chip Roy hoping the rhetoric will turn out voters in next month's primary. He says there's a coordinated effort to Islamify Texas.
Which we've got Epic City and growing relationships between organizations in this state and dangerous terrorist organizations.
CAIR has denied it has any ties to terrorist groups and says Sharia law is not a thing in Texas.
It's a part of Sharia law that you give the minority the option to follow it or follow their religion and their law. There is no way even logically for us to impose any law against people's willing.
Daniel Perot reporting there. According to the Pew Research Center, 42% of Muslim voters in the U.S. identify with the Republican Party. So all of this rhetoric could be alienating votes. Meantime, in Congress today, 7 Democrats introduced a bill that would prevent presidents from enacting travel bans on people of Islamic faith or any other religious group. The Austin Apartment Association is launching a new program to help first responders find more affordable apartment options. They're partnering with Austin Police, Fire, and EMS unions. The aim is to keep first responders close to the communities they serve. KVU's Jessica Cha shares details on this program.
Rent and housing costs are expensive in Austin, even for the people who serve and protect it.
As police officers, firefighters, and EMS professionals struggle to afford living in the city they work so hard to protect, this program is a meaningful step towards closing that gap.
The Austin Apartment Alliance is launching the A Partner in Safety Alliance program. It's a way the Alliance says will give Austin first responders more housing incentives that'll keep them closer to home.
These incentives may include waived fees, reduced deposits, or rent discounts.
Because Jay Monks, president of the Austin EMS Association, says many of them live a bit far away.
If a medic has to live an hour outside of town because rent keeps climbing, that's an extra hour of driving right before they go to a 24-hour shift.
Monks says some EMS workers live as far as College Station and San Antonio.
That's their decision, but for the most part, I think a lot of our newer medics are feeling that stress, and they're being pushed out into the kind of outlying areas.
Which he says can affect performance.
It's less sleep, it's more stress, and it's a higher chance of burnout. And when burnout rises, as we know, vacancies rise, response times can grow.
But through the program, first responders will be able to pick through an online directory of apartment options and can view photos and explore options within the city. And they say it'll grow trust within communities.
Neighbors become familiar faces and safety becomes a shared goal for the community.
Participating properties will also have the option to have safety walkthroughs with APD that'll help identify better safety measures like lighting, locks, and address signage, making Austin more affordable and united for those who try to keep it safe.
Jessica Chow with that report. The program will also organize community engagement events that allow residents and first responders to connect over a meal. It's Black History Month, and one local group is honoring a century of Black history in a unique way. They're bringing the community together for a photo shoot that celebrates culture, unity, and pride. KVU's Brianna Perez explains.
3, 2, 1.
We felt like it was very important, again, to do something different, to be seen, to be heard, and there's no place to do that. It's like the capital.
They say pictures worth 1,000 words. And Brandon Boone, co-founder of Where Y'all At Though, hopes these photos speak volumes.
We got all these photos that I can look back on and kind of see the progression of Austin and just the progression of the Black community here.
Since 2018, the group has marked Black History Month with an annual community photo shoot called Celebrating Our Black. It's all about unity, culture, and visibility.
Our whole mission is to help you find your people, specifically for the Black community. We realize how gentrification in the history of Austin, our community is so spread out, so we're trying to make it easy as possible for people to find their community.
Participants agree.
We don't have, like other cities, these meeting grounds or spaces where you can always find Black, Hispanic, people of color all the time. So this was an opportunity to either meet people you met online, meet people you never knew existed, and then meet other people and families who, share the same interests.
We hear a lot of people like, hey, I'm just here, I don't find my community, I leave. When you see that person next year, you see that retention. I'm like, oh, you found your community. That's what keeps people here.
Organizers say hundreds show up every year. But with this year marking 100 years of Black History Month, they hope for their biggest turnout yet.
Years down the line, as people look back on these photos, I think people can kind of just see the legacy and we can be a part of the history that our ancestors laid.
You can't erase my history. We are part of this history. We're going to be here.
Brianna Perez, KVU News.
This year's photo shoot is set for February 22nd. If you'd like to get involved, we've posted information with this story at kvu.com. Those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. We begin in Flower Bluff, where over a dozen students walked out of class Thursday afternoon in protest of increased immigration enforcement being seen across the country. The protest led by students who gathered across the street from the high school with chants, signs, and even custom-made T-shirts. We caught up with the student organizer who told us he planned the protest in a response to the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Peretti in Minnesota.
I think it's important for anyone to organize this, even me, because everything I've seen online is people always say they want to start something, but they wait for someone else to start something. So I thought if I were to start it myself, I could get other people to come with me and join me.
The school district responding to the protest, saying in part they were aware of the planned protests but are following TEA guidelines and that students who walked out will be marked absent. The district adding that activities outside the instructional day are not permitted on campus. And the FBI is asking for help in the search for the man accused of robbing a bank last week, still on the run. Investigators even giving the suspect a new nickname. They're calling him the high-vis heister because of his outfit choice. It was last Friday when the suspect, dressed in a bright yellow safety vest and camo baseball cap, walked into American Bank, throwing a bag at a teller before showing a gun and demanding cash. He was able to get away with an undisclosed amount of money. And Corpus Christi city leaders getting a major setback today, learning they will not receive the drilling permits needed right now to access water from the Evangeline Aquifer. That decision coming ahead of a Water District Board meeting in San Patricio County set to happen Friday. City officials still plan on going to that meeting. and they had a February 6th deadline to get needed drilling permits for the Evangeline Water Project. But as our Michael Gibson explains, that project is going to be delayed as the city of Sinton continues to fight this project.
So when they don't issue the permits tomorrow, it won't be a surprise to us.
Reaction was swift to the news that the San Patricio County Groundwater Conservation District has already notified the city it will not issue Evangeline aquifer drilling permits Friday morning. That deadline is critical for Corpus Christi to move forward with its groundwater development project. Councilman Eric Cantu issued a blunt warning to San Patricio County officials he says are standing in the way.
If we have to cut back on water in November, I want to make sure that they're the first to cut back on water. And they're gonna feel the pain.
We asked San Patricio County Judge David Krebs about that threat.
Don't think that comment will go very far if it goes, to legality and stuff, probably, and stuff. But they need to understand, we got the water, our people have the water. We want to conserve the water, so we have it to use. Corpus would do the same thing.
This all comes after we sat down with City Manager Peter Zanoni and Corpus Christi Water Chief Operating Officer Nick Winkleman, who say multiple entities are slowing the permitting process. Zanoni says the city of Sinton and 3 other parties are preventing the Evangeline permits from being approved, a delay he warns could jeopardize water availability across a number of counties.
Unfortunately, the city of Sinton has stopped communicating with the city of Corpus Christi and Corpus Christi Water. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the region because their actions are putting a 7-county region at jeopardy.
So what's plan B? Well, the city is turning to existing groundwater infrastructure. 2 well fields along the Nueces River are expected to fully come online by May, producing a combined 27 million gallons of water per day. But city officials say that still is not going to be enough to offset the Evangeline delay, prompting consideration of yet another groundwater source.
The 3rd well site City Council is going to consider next week, Tuesday. That's a groundwater right purchase, pretty close to our western well site. And that could produce, we're estimating about 10 to 20 MGD a day.
That was our Michael Gibson with those updates. Now, San Patricio County Judge David Krebs says the city manager in Sinton is working on a water agreement to still present to the city of Corpus Christi, but that ultimately both sides are prepared to head to court for this. We'll continue to monitor this situation. And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Here are headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Well, the search continues for the family of Larry Andrews. The 74-year-old awaits one final goodbye after his body was found in downtown Beaumont on Monday. But his friends, they aren't waiting to honor his memory. At Iron Gate Studios, a small memorial is at the bench where employees used to talk to Andrews. We spoke to his friends about the joy and love that he brought to their lives. 12 News reporter Daniela Tabuada-Palau, she details a life that has not been forgotten.
Beaumont lawyer Mike Dodson met Andrews more than 10 years ago. He says he took care of him, housed him, and treated him like a brother. Love that was returned.
It was the friendship of a person who had probably been forgotten by the rest of the world, and he probably felt forgotten.
An attorney and a man experiencing homelessness brought together by chance.
Normally, I would turn left and go back to 4th Street, but for some reason, I feel like we need to turn right. So we turned right, and there was Larry sitting there.
A simple moment that became life-changing for Beaumont attorney Mike Dodson.
And for some reason, our 2 paths of life crossed, and both of us were the better for it.
On February 2nd, Beaumont police found the body of Mike's friend, 74-year-old Larry Andrews, in a vacant lot downtown. A quiet end for a quiet man of deep faith.
I was on an Acts retreat with him in 2023. He was very soft-spoken, but he was very knowledgeable of Scripture and a very prayerful man. That stood out the most.
Kelly Broussard says he learned a lot from Larry. To Corey and Catherine Green, owners of Iron Gate Studios, he was an unexpected friend. They met Andrews in 2024. He was reading the Bible on the bench near their store. A statement from the couple to 12 News reads in part, "I could have simply ignored him that day on that bench, but I am so thankful I did not. In the short time I knew Mr. Andrews, I truly feel that man was an angel in disguise, and I am so thankful for the time my family and my Iron Gate family got to spend with him." Andrews touched many lives of so many as a friend, an employee. But for Mike Dodson, Larry was family.
It's one of my favorite pictures of Larry. That's him with Nathan in a wagon and just carrying him around our property.
Dodson considered him a brother who enjoyed time with his children and grandchildren. A man that will be missed but never forgotten. A reminder, Dodson says, of the humanity we owe one another.
There are different segments of society that have different thoughts about the homeless. I feel like whatever the position is, either the local government or people in the community, we need to still have compassion and mercy for people and have a little bit of humanity.
Beaumont police are still trying to contact direct family members. If you know how to contact them, reach out to the department. We have their contact on our website, 12newsnow.com. In studio, Danielle Toro-Palau, 12 News.
Christopher Shaw sued a Beaumont police officer, accusing him of using excessive force while he was being booked into the Jefferson County Jail back in 2021. Now, last year, that lawsuit to the U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Texas, they sided with the city of Beaumont and dismissed the suit, but it's being appealed now. In surveillance video of Shaw's arrest, obtained 2 years after it happened, you can see him with several officers on him as they attempted to book him. Now, he was initially arrested on a public intoxication charge, but he picked up a new charge of assaulting a peace officer from that struggle that you just saw there. Shaw, he pled guilty to that charge in 2023, but his lawyer is arguing that he was left paralyzed during that altercation, and they say that Shaw was handcuffed when he was choked and body slammed to the floor. Now, here's a small portion of the arguments made in the appeals court on Wednesday from both sides.
He acknowledged that Mr. Shaw committed assault. He admitted in his deposition he pled guilty and he committed assault. But that force still can be disproportionate as to the response.
He wasn't just raising his leg. He was violently resisting all the officers. It took 3 of them to take him down. You can see it from every angle in the video.
Now, according to the lawyers for that police officer, the video shows Shaw lunging, kicking, and resisting despite being handcuffed, leading to an accidental fall caused by tangled feet and forward momentum, not a deliberate body slam or chokehold. Now, there's no timeline yet on when this federal appeals judge will make a decision. And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.